Good evening, everybody. So welcome to this evening's School Board Candidate Forum hosted by the Penasco Town Hall. My name is Rebecca Gonzalez-Mitchell, and I am going to be moderating the Q&A this evening. And I just want to recognize, I want to recognize all of the people that are part of the town hall and the time and effort that they put into organizing this, and so that we could be here this evening and have the opportunity to hear from school board candidates.
I cannot hear you, Rebecca.
Are other people having trouble hearing me as well? No. Okay.
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay. I'm going to start.
Hear you.
Okay, thank you, Pam. I'm going to start out with a land acknowledgement. We gratefully acknowledge I'm trying to think of what to tell you, Mary. Maybe what you could do is sign out of the Zoom and log back in.
I've unmuted myself, but I don't hear you. I hear you very far.
Okay. Mary, would you be able to mute yourself, please? Thank you. We gratefully acknowledge the Indigenous people on whose ancestors' homelands we gather, as well as the diverse and vibrant community of Picaris Pueblo who make their home here today. The Penasco Town Hall sent out a draft of the questions that we were going to be asking. And of course, that was a draft, so we edited them a little bit. So some of them are going to be slightly different from what you were emailed, but no dramatic changes or anything like that. And I sent 6 questions out, but I can't guarantee we're going to ask all of those because we want to prioritize people who are in the meeting. And if they have questions that they would like to ask or they would like to put into the chat, we want to make sure that we can get to those. The questions that are going to be asked are ones that the Penasco Town Hall did a survey and asked people for suggestions on questions they wanted asked of the candidates. So these are questions either coming directly from survey respondents or are inspired by what they said and picked up on the theme of what they said. We have, I didn't verify that we have which candidates we have on the call. I saw, of course, Mary, but she's having some trouble. There's Gwen, Amanda. Let's see. We have Leroy and Patricia. Great. So we're okay. I'm getting some feedback. Mary, that might be your microphone again. That's if you could mute it, please.
Mary, that might be your microphone. Can you hear me?
They can't hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, Mary. Sherry Archuleta was unable to make it this evening because of other commitments. And I also understand that Patricia might have to get off a bit early. She had said about 7:15 because of the volleyball game this evening. And I'm glad that people could make this work in their schedule so that we could be here, but we understand that sometimes it's hard to make things work with everybody's schedule. So let me just explain what the plan is, and then we'll jump into the questions. There's 6 questions. We have 5 candidates. The way the math works out, so we don't stay on this call beyond an hour and a half, you will each have 2 minutes to respond. I have Rafa assisting me, who will be the person monitoring the chat as well as keeping time, and will interject when your time is up, and then we'll move on to the next candidate. And this is the best way to give everyone an opportunity to like equally be heard from. The order that we're going to go in is by school board candidate seats. So in seat number 1, just in alphabetical order, the first person that will be asked a question is Amanda, and then Mary, and then we'll go to seat number 2. Let's see, we still are getting some feedback from someone's mic is on. Okay. Let's see, seat number 2 in alphabetical order will be Leroy, and then Patricia, and then seat 3 will be Gwen. So first question, this will be for Amanda.
Excuse me, Rebecca.
Yes.
Are you calling us? Are you calling us by the way we are listed or the way you choose?
So we're going in the order of seats, like on that will be on the voting ballot, right? So seat number 1 is Amanda and Mary, and then by alphabetical order by last name, Amanda Bissell would go first, and then Mary, and then we'll move on to the next seat. And I will say who's next so that we can keep track of whose turn it is.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is any other questions? Okay. So the first question, we made it a little more specific. It's not just tell us a little bit about yourself. It's specifically tell us one specific strength that you can bring to the school district. And if everyone could turn off their microphone while we're listening, that would be appreciated.
Hello, my name is Amanda Bissell. I'm up for re-election on the school board. And I just want to thank the Penasco Town Hall for organizing this. It's really great to have a community forum addressing community issues. So thank you. A little about myself. I'm a community member and Penasco alum. I graduated from Penasco in 2000. I currently have 2 kiddos at the elementary school, and I serve on a local nonprofit board. I work as the Chief Operations Officer for Las Cumbres Community Services, which is a nonprofit based here in northern New Mexico that offers a lot of families to services to families. And I feel like this work really has increased my leadership skills that I can bring to the board. I'm constantly learning about leadership, system operations, finances, employee operations. I spend a lot of time on program evaluation, and I feel like these are some of the strengths I can bring to my role in the school board is having that diverse background in bigger systems, to be able to work hand in hand with a superintendent to really think about strategic planning, outcomes that we want for our students in our community, ways to evaluate those things. And I also think, being a parent, a current parent of students in the school connects me in a different way to what's happening in the school district, at least in the elementary. I served on the board for just 1 term, so 4 years plus a little.
Time, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
Mary,
Okay, hold on one second. I'm sorry to interrupt you. So I'm going to tell you, just to be clear, I'm going to tell you time, but then you can finish your sentence. I don't want to cut people off just like mid-sentence. I just want to let you know that your time is coming to an end. Okay. So sorry about that, Amanda.
That's fine. I understand. I'm done. I've been on the board, and if I'm elected again, I'm looking forward to serving another term. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary?
Oh, wow. Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Oh, wow.
Mary,
Oh,
is there one of your devices that you could mute so the sound is only coming out of one instead of multiple? That's the problem.
I'm trying to. Let's see if it works. Hello. Okay, is that better?
Yeah, that
Rebecca, do
seems
you hear me?
Yes.
Rebecca? Okay, hello, everybody. Thank you for coming to this event tonight. Yes, we need to know a lot of things about the candidates that are running, and I was born in Llano and raised in Llano to my parents, Virgilio and Antonita Trujillo. And they were very dedicated to helping people in our surrounding communities. So that's where I learned how to be involved and how to work and bring things together to the district and to the community. And that's what I have done. I have been involved in the Penasco School District for 3 terms. And I feel I can give more by serving again, because, there's a lot of things that are in the district now that have bettered the system to assist our students. For example, the track and field, the Jicarita gym, the cafeteria, all those I've had to do with. And also the gates that we have, the Panther gates. It takes people who know how to get people to work together. And I think I have done that together with others. It's a team effort. And I have done a lot of teamwork with people that want to work together and bring things to our community. So I do belong to many nonprofit organizations, and I'm always helping my community. For example, Taos Feeds Taos, the National Heritage Area, the New Mexico Seca Commission. I like to be an all-around person, and I feel I have been. That's why I have been honored, and my honor goes to those that elect me and those that teach me, because every day we learn from those that are ahead of us, and we have to learn the good things to do and not, bring negative things in. But we also have to stand up for what we believe. And that's where I come in. I have learned democracy through going to Girls State. Possibly Rebecca was there too, and she knows what it is. So it's important to learn and to do as well as you can so that your community will be proud of you. You always want to prove that you are doing positive things to improve things in your community in every angle that you're involved in. So
Time.
I just, I'm asking for your vote, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Leroy?
You might be having trouble too.
Leroy, we're not hearing you if you are speaking. Okay.
He unmute.
Leroy, we're not hearing you. I guess my best suggestion again is to leave the meeting and come back in. I don't know what else to suggest. Or maybe try signing in on a different device, possibly. But Leroy, we will give you a chance to answer, but let's move on to Patricia while you get it figured out.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Perfect.
Okay. Okay, I myself, I'm also was born and raised here in this little town of Trampas. I did attend a Penasco High School or Penasco schools, and after graduation, I did went into the military. And I served the military for 21 years. After came back, I became very much involved in the community as a member of the Tickets Association, the water community, and other things that are non-possible here in here. I did work as construction at Los Alamos for many years, and I was a security member over there also. And then after that, I did attend or served as a cadre for the Española Military Academy. I spent there about 6 years. I was a cadre and also a teacher. I was also involved with the junior ROTC with the Española high schools. And then I decided to go ahead and run for the Board of Education here in the community of for the Penasco Independent School District. I did lose one time, but I came back and because I wanted to get involved with the schools. I served for two um, uh, terms, and I believe that I can bring again a lot of things back to the community. As far as Penasco, I'm also with the Knights of Columbus, and which is a nonprofit organization. We have given out thousands of dollars to the community when it comes down to be helping the people. And I'm also an hermano with the Hermandad with the Catholic Church, and we do a lot of prayers, rosaries for these peoples in the community. So as far as bringing stuff to or things to to the school district, I believe that I can serve again and be able to help the community, the Penasco Independent Schools. Thank you.
Okay, go right ahead, Patricia. We're not hearing you yet, Patricia.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name's Patricia Martinez. I'm a 1998 Penasco graduate. Moved away, had some kids, came back, decided to raise our children where we were raised and have them attend the schools we attended. I work for El Central Family Health as an expanded functions dental assistant. So I also do serve the community. I have been with El Central for almost 11 years. What I can bring to the table is I have a student at Penasco High. She's a sophomore. And I also have a 2017 graduate from Penasco High as well. So my goal is to really bring back education. We need to prepare our students for everyday life, not just high school. The rate of students going to college is not that great. So my focus is education and trying to get our students prepared for life. Other than that, that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gwen?
Can you see me? Hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Gwen Simbolo, and I am from the pueblos of Picaries and Okeowinga. I'm half Hispanic, half Native American. I graduated in 2001. Unfortunately, I am not a graduate of the Penasco Independent School District. I did graduate out in Oklahoma, but prior to that, I went to school in the Penasco District up until my junior year. I have two young boys, Dominic and Jonathan, both which attend Santa Fe Indian School. They were students of the Penasco Independent School District until until this year. Prior to, I am the tribal secretary here in the Pueblo of Piccaries, in my third term. Prior to my term here in the Pueblo, my profession is a caregiver and for the disabled and elderly population. I was also a youth coordinator and community wellness coordinator for the Pueblo of Piccaries. Over the years, I've worked with the Pueblo in a variety of ways, most recently served as the coordinator for the Piccaries Youth Council. I am a member of the Education Committee here on the Pueblo and also a member of the Emergency Response Committee. In these capacities, it has been my passion to give voice to our youth as they are future leaders, advocates, and stewards. Given the opportunity to sit on the Penasco Independent School Board will allow me to pursue my endeavors to be that voice. Although I haven't served formally on a school board, I am familiar with a variety of formal meetings. I am willing to learn, be open-minded, to listen, and to be an active participant. If elected, I will serve with the utmost respect, dedication, and dignity to ensure a successful term. Before my time is up, I would like to add a few things about myself. I am dedicated, honest, and transparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Gwen. And Sherry did send some very brief responses. So I'm just going to go ahead and read what she said for this one. My name is Sherry Archuleta, and I attended Penasco schools from K through 12th grade, graduated May 03. I currently have 2 kids attending the schools, one in 8th grade, other a senior in high school, scheduled to graduate May 2022. They've attended Penasco school since kindergarten as well. I also have an 18-month-old that plans to attend Penasco schools. So I wanted to ask, Darren submitted a question in the chat. Would you like to ask that question, Darren? Or I could go ahead and ask it.
Sure, I'll ask it. I'm gonna bring it up. To all the candidates, PISD staff are your constituents. How do you feel about staff calling you to discuss their concerns?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Griego. I think it's an important one and one that, you know, the board has really grappled with at least the time that I've been on the board. And it's important. I agree. Staff are our constituents as well. And they clearly have a unique perspective of what's happening in the school. And I personally am open to hearing from staff. I do think it's an important function of a school board to be willing to hear from staff. I think we just, as board members, need to be clear in our role. There's a difference between hearing from staff and stepping in to try to over problem solve, because that isn't our role. I think board members need to be clear on where to direct staff depending on the issue that's being raised, whether it's, you know, to a policy, whether it's to back to the to their supervisor, but more than that, you know, I think we also have to be willing to be courageous when needed and you know, voice concerns to the superintendent, because that's also part of our role. If we're hearing something, we need to step it up, be willing to have those conversations, partly so the superintendent can have an opportunity to address these concerns. And also, we don't want people to feel caught off guard in board meetings. I think that can happen when we hear something and a board member brings it up and it's the first time anybody's hearing about it, and it can feel kind of like a gotcha sometimes, or put the superintendent on the spot or even the principals. And so I think we need to be mindful of all of the different hats that people are wearing and the roles they have. And with that, also honor the role that, you know, the special insight that staff have at the district.
Mary? Mary? We can't hear you. Hmm.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. We are an elected official, and a lot of people don't want to call us or don't want to be called politicians. But if you run for any office that requires voting, that is a form of democracy, and we are responsible to our people. I believe that our staff or people come to us because they feel that we owe them the ear to listen to them. And I think we should. After that, we should go to the superintendent and tell the superintendent what's going on, possibly what she can do, what maybe suggest some things because she's the boss. But the superintendent has to do her job. If the superintendent doesn't do her job, we are lost and we will have a lot of problems. And we have already experienced that. So I would say that we listen to them, but also en español se dice, cada cabeza es un mundo y trabajando juntos se llega lejos. That means that each of us has something to say, but working together, we can do better. So I feel that, there are ways to work together, and that is by proper communication, listening and being fair. And that has to be overall from the janitor to the highest, which is the principal, and also the superintendent. Superintendent has to be treated fair, but she has to be treating people fair too. So, and the only employee that the board has is the superintendent. We do not fire or hire anybody else. So I believe that we can do something and work together if we're willing to.
Leroy?
Thank you.
Yeah, well, I myself, I am glad to see that the union came on in force, because I tell you, that will bring a lot of things that the school has never had before. And as far as listening to any staff or anybody that is employed by the district, we cannot cut them off. I myself, I would say, listen to what they have to say, any concerns or anything that they are bringing up. However, like just we are not problem solvers. We need to let them know that they need to follow the chain of command in order to be able to accomplish whatever the concern or the gripe is. So I'm glad that Darren brought that question up, because I was going to ask why that we cannot talk to the staff or listen to the staff, teachers, or anybody, any employee of the school. And again, whenever that comes up, I will say that, listen to them, see what they are bringing up, but don't try to be the problem solver. Direct them to the chain of command so they can follow up. Thank you.
This is Patricia. I also too am open to hearing from the Penasco Independent School staff. That's why we're there, I believe, as board member. That's why we're there to listen and also go through the chain of command, as long as it's through the proper chain. Definitely, my door's open, my phone's open. Definitely call me. Again, we're not problem solvers like Leroy said, but we're here to listen and try to make our independent school, Penasco Independent School District, a great place for our children, because we're leaders. And as a leader, you need to be a great listener. So for me, most definitely, call me, come to my door, as long as it follows the chain of command. Thank you.
Hello, this is Gwen. I'm gonna go ahead and leave my camera off because my internet is unstable where I'm at right now. But I would like to mirror what the other candidates having to say about following and listening the chain of command. Everyone deserves a voice and to be heard. We need to keep the lines of communication open. We need to follow that chain of command. If the issue should arise, I'm all here to listen, to be compassionate about the situation as long as it's appropriate. If it's not appropriate, I would still listen. I would still, lend that ear. And then I would direct the person to other be able to direct those persons in that issue as long as it's school related. And again, following the chain of command, that's the best thing that we can do at this time. My doors are always open. My office is always here. You're welcome to call me. Yeah, so thank you.
Okay, and Sherry gave answers not exactly to what Darren was asking, but there was a question that had to do with interfacing with the community or staff and how to like do that and have the position of the board and who they can speak with. So her answer was show them how to follow the chain of command and follow up to see if the proper steps were followed. And I just want to add or remind people that you are welcome to put questions into the chat so that we can ask them. Okay, I have another question that was suggested through the chat. Here's the question. What role do students have in helping to govern the policies, decision-making, and what's happening at the school? And to add to that, how does the board solicit feedback and participation from students?
Can you say the question just one more time in its entirety? Because I didn't see it in the chat.
Okay. And you know what, maybe I could ask Rafa to put it in the chat to everyone so that it's there as well for people to see. It's like a two-part question. What role do students have in helping to govern the policies, decision-making, and what's happening at the school? How will the board solicit feedback and participation from students?
Thank you. Right now, the board doesn't have a practice of soliciting student feedback for very much, if we're being honest. That has not been a strength of this board. There's been a couple of shifts where when we had the last school board interviews, we did have a student representative who participated in all the interviews and gave us feedback. And it was really great to have that student insight. And I think for myself, something I valued and want to incorporate. A lot of school boards have models where they do have student representatives on the board. And I'm not sure the process for those students being there, if there's some a selection process, if it's open to anybody, I would hope it could be. And so that they actively get to participate in the meetings and weigh in on some of the decisions board members are making. I think if they're not in the room with us, we're not hearing them, that we're not seeing them, and it's hard sometimes to try to hold space and keep their perspective. So I do think the board should consider a model that a lot of other districts use that seems to be beneficial. And we could also get into a practice of when we are making a change that impacts students to get their information about it. I know that when the cell phone policy was being changed, there was some data that was presented to us that we were told was a student survey. And I think that was helpful at the time to have the student perspective. And I think we could also get into the practice of that, of if there's a decision coming up that has a direct impact on students, or a policy that's going to impact how they can be on the district in the class, that we should make an effort to hear from them as well.
Is that my turn now, Rebecca? Okay. I want to say that years back, we did have student representation, and it was the student body president. And that was very helpful because they brought things up front, and they brought things that really touched, their needs. So I think we can do it again. I think we have to work with them and give them a place in the board so that they can come up and tell us exactly what they're thinking. And, we talk, we communicate, and we see what is reasonable to have. So I believe that this is a very important part. Some students in some places do go to the board, and they do have a place. I don't know, I haven't asked how they've done it now, but I think it is important to have students present there. And hopefully this will get their interest, not only in being active in caring for their school, but also in running for the school board in the future, but to be ready to run and know what is needed and be prepared, because it takes preparation for everything.
You see my turn there, Rebecca?
Yes, go ahead, Leroy.
Okay, now, yeah, I believe, and I think that that's a good idea, but the thing is what I'm looking at. As a board member, we should let and open it up for students through the superintendent. Let the superintendent know that there is some actions, if there's some actions going on that they don't like or they would like to see, let the superintendent through the principals let them know that students are invited to attend these board meetings. So therefore, we can see any policies or anything that come up. They should be able to have some input. Again, that is to make sure that the students understand what the board is going to do or what is about to do, and what do they have in mind to be able to change or even take away from. So we can understand them and they can understand what the board is doing, because they do need to know what is happening in that school, and that's their school. Thank you.
This is Patricia. My stance on that question is most definitely our students, that is their school. They know their needs. They know what they need to succeed. So again, with my other candidates, I agree. We need to try to come up with some kind of committee or some kind of planning to get students involved, because we are there for them. This is their school. Not saying they're their school, but we are there for them. And we need to be good listeners. We need to be good teachers. And they need to know what the school board is about. A lot of people don't know what it's about, students especially. So getting them involved I'm a big advocate of that. Let's get them involved. Let's figure out a way so that we can get the ball going on that. But for me, it's a yes. Thank you.
Okay, and then this is Gwen. Yes, I believe that we should have student representation for their voices to be heard. They are the main group of people the board is serving. That's why Pickery's has the Pickery's Youth Council, so that we can have or give that voice to our youth, and that they can also learn the policies and procedures of how a council works and how government works. That gives them strength and to build character for themselves, for not only for now, but for the future. Should not silence their voices, because they are the main body that we are representing there at Penasco, as well as, in our community. And we should be listening to one voice. We should hear from all of the student body. They should all be able to participate and give feedback. Maybe not directly in a school board meeting, but we could conduct surveys and assessments to get that feedback. And I think that's basically what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Keep them coming. Put them into the chat. I'm going to ask the next question. I'm skipping around a little bit, so if you're referring to the draft that got sent out, it was the long, lengthy question, but it's been condensed a little bit. How can the school board better advocate with the state for more access to what the school needs? And I'll go ahead and also drop that in the chat as well. Let me read it one more time. How can the school board better advocate with the state for more to access what the school needs?
I was glad to see that question come through to us because it's really important. The whole point of a school board is to have local control. However, we're all beholden to whatever the state decides to push down. And whether you're a small district in a rural community or a large district in an urban area, we have the same set of requirements and reporting that we have to meet, and nothing's really matched to local need. Nothing's really matched to the community, and it creates problems, and it creates and it also impacts funding and underfunding that a lot of schools experience. And we have a lot of mandates that roll down to us that the school has to do, but don't have any funding behind it to support the efforts or the staff to do it. So people just, especially in small districts, get more and more added to their role, and it's not a fair situation. School board members have the opportunity to participate in drafting resolutions through the New Mexico School Boards Association, and this district has been a part of that. And I think that's one of the primary voices we have, is to draft resolution to present to our legislators to pass. And we could draft that with other districts, so we have more of a collective with those districts that are similar, whether it's size, geographic concerns. And with those resolutions, we can reach out to the community, we can reach out to staff to get feedback and ideas on what changes we would want the legislature to enact that would impact how local schools are able to operate better and have more of that local control that we say is pivotal to public education.
Every year in the fall or during this time, we have the New Mexico School Board Association has already sent out requests for resolutions from the different school districts. I am part of that committee through the New Mexico School Board Association. But I don't feel that Penasco has ever done a resolution that I can remember having there. But a lot of other schools have. And I know that I put in my 2 cents when a resolution goes through. I consider also our school. And so I vote for that resolution to go before the body of school board members, or I question it. But I do say we must include all people, all schools, because that's what is important, to include schools so that all of them can get the same benefits, not only the big schools, but the little schools also. So I'm very happy and proud Penasco has a representative there, and we have had that place for a while, and I continue to represent my school district the best way I know how, and to get whatever resolutions we can to help all school districts in the state. Thank you.
Leroy, now on the, as far as that is concerned, I believe that we need something to be able to give us more. I don't know how much or how the budget is right now, but I would say that if you have some individual to legislate for us, at least when they have this legislature, to be able to talk for our school, be able to represent us, what our needs are, and how can we, as a district, be able to be successful in getting some of that funding to get going on better going in this school. That's the way I feel. If we can get somebody to do that, depending, I guess, looking at the budget, we can do it. I'm all for it. Thank you.
Patricia here. On that question, for me, it's definitely developing a relationship with the state, getting more people involved to advocate and, like Leroy said, get our needs in there, our questions, see how we can better our schools, programs, you know, things like that. But definitely communication is key. Developing a strong relationship with the state. So definitely willing to do that. Thank you.
Okay, and my response is the school board should be the responsible body to overlook the operations and functions of the district and not put the blame solely on the state. The school board and administrators should be considering if the funding is being allocated correctly and being used in the most efficient and effective manner. Getting more funding doesn't mean it will solve the problems, but being strategic and planning on how to do the best possible work and make the best possible choices what we have will determine the success and also show where we can grow and benefit with additional funding and resources. I believe if I was elected, I would like to understand all of the funding avenues and how the district operates and utilizes its funding. As you know, this is going to be my first term if elected, so I'm coming in fresh. I would recommend an advocate to work with the state, our stakeholders, and others to ensure we are working strategically to meet our goals. As an example, and as I stated, as I advocate also for the Pueblo, Pickery's Pueblo is a sovereign nation and has other funding streams that could be an asset to the school board. As long as we maintain that government to government relationship with them, being that they have those avenues for capital outlay, for grants. We have a strong relationship with the governor of New Mexico, with PED, and also the Secretary of Education. So I feel that having the tribe work closely and be advocate for the school district, we can accomplish a lot together. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we have another question. Rafa, would you be able to please ask this question for the candidates?
Yes. The question is, how can the community participate in board meetings effectively besides just public comment? That's the question.
That's a good question. Public comment is very limiting, right? It's a few minutes to say something, and the rules of public comment are that the board members aren't supposed to respond, so it's really a one-way discussion, which isn't a discussion at all. And I would counter, I don't know that board meetings are even the place to have a lot of the public discussion. I feel like when things come to the board, by that time discussions should have already happened, right? There should have been meetings happening, and with stakeholders or partners, depending what the issues are. And that's not to say that issues shouldn't come to the board if something arises or needs to be brought forward, but I feel like it's board members aren't an effective forum for a lot of community input. They're not designed that way. And we can try to change that as much as, as much wiggle room as we can. But I think discussions outside of the boardroom are more important, because that's what's really going to lay the groundwork for any action or policy changes that have to happen by board members, and whether, that is a policy committee, whether it's a more active parent engagement committee, and having board members participate in that strategically, so that if there's a discussion that needs to happen, that can happen without the constraints of the school board meeting.
My understanding is that public comment is up to every school board member or every school board. And in many areas, they do not have it. So we are lucky to have it. But the way it should work is that people come up, give their comments, whatever they have, and we, as a board, pass that on to the superintendent to answer. Many times this does not happen. And I think that's where the problem is. The superintendent has to answer whatever the answer has to be to that person who presented the comment. We do our best, and it's like Amanda says, it's a one-way street. The person speaks, but we are told we cannot respond. So really, we are obeying what the laws are telling us to do, and that is to keep quiet at that time. But it's not to keep quiet all the time. We have to listen, and we have to take this further on to the superintendent, so the superintendent can take care of matters. She is, or he is, whoever is there, the pilot of our ship. And that matters. That has to happen. Superintendent has to have communication with everybody concerned. Thank you.
Lee, right before you start your comment, I saw that we have at least a couple of teachers from school in the meeting, and I would encourage you to take the opportunity to put your questions in here. We'd appreciate your perspective and what kinds of questions you would have for the candidates. You can send them directly to Rafa, who's filtering the questions. Okay, Leroy, go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm going to go back a little bit to what Mary said, that we are elected officials. We are elected by the community, and they deserve also to be participants of anything, of any board meeting. My recommendation would be get at least every quarter, or even more often than that, to have a public board meeting with the community and see or listen to what they have to say. Concerns, gripes, suggestions, or whatever they bring up. Have the superintendent there, okay? To be able to, or her to listen to what they have to say. Maybe at that time, we, the board, can answer. I'm saying we, but the board can answer the questions or be able to direct. And also the superintendent, if he's going to take a little more than that, to go ahead and have the superintendent search whatever the questions are all about. If he's going to take longer, for her to be able to answer that question to whoever brought that question up, but give the community a chance to be able to come to board meetings in that respect. And I agree with Amanda, and I agree with Mary. The common or public comment is very restricted to the point that here again, the board president will tell the individual, well, the superintendent will answer your question or give you an answer, but don't expect that tomorrow or whatever, because the superintendent is going to have to look at it and be able to research the answer. Thank you.
Could I say something?
Sounds like yes.
I was going to say that in order to have a meeting, people have to understand that we have to go and we have to follow the Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act is that the meetings have to be advertised 72 hours before a meeting. And also there has to be a need. And that's why we have a monthly meeting. And if we would have a special meeting, we would have to ask for special permission from the Attorney General, I believe. So it's not as easy as it seems that we can meet and talk, because once we're elected, we have to hold on to what they ask us to do. Yes?
Okay,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna cut you off and get to
Okay,
Patricia,
that's
because I
fine.
know Patricia's gonna be leaving soon.
Patricia. You're muted.
Muted.
I'm not muted. I think that I'm about to lose service. Like I mentioned earlier, I had a prior commitment. Can you still hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So probably last question I'm going to answer, just because of the prior commitment. Sounds like it's going to be difficult, but I think as
Uh-oh, you cut out, Patricia. We're not hearing you.
in, can you hear me now? I'm sorry.
Let's try again. Go ahead.
Okay. I may lose service, so if I lose service, I'm sorry. But
Okay.
sounds like it's a challenge to have these kinds of meetings. But I think if elected and the board members, we need to figure out a way to get the community involved in public meetings, because their children attend, our children attend, and it's important to hear their complaints, their suggestions, concerns. We need to invite them. We need them to feel comfortable, because it's their school and we serve them. So definitely.
Okay, you cut out at the end, Patricia, but we heard a good chunk of what you were saying. Thank you, Patricia. We'll bid you farewell. Thanks for getting on this meeting with the time that you had, and let's go on to Gwen.
To answer this question, I feel that if we listen and follow through at the right time, that we could venture into public comments and look at public venues to have meetings, so that we can have open communication with our community members, our students, our staff, and our our district. We need to keep that communication open and transparency open. We could I think we could also reach out to our parent advisory committee within Penasco and have them submit their comments prior to a school board meeting, so that we can be prepared for those concerns at hand. And maybe we could also reach out to this Penasco Town Hall to use as a venue to have those public meetings, so that we don't have to do special requests through the state for public comments. But that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. It looks like another question was submitted to Rafa. Let me just take a chance to read it real quick, and then I'll let you know what it is. Actually, okay, Rafa, how about I have you go ahead and read this one too, please?
Okay, so it's kind of a two-parter. How can the board seek a stronger partnership with Picuris? Or what can the board do to reach out to Picuris to create a true partnership where the leadership of the Pueblo and the needs of the Pueblo guide decision-making?
And Rafa will drop it into the chat as well.
I think we've had a board for the last, at least the time that I've been on the school board, really recognize the importance of a true partnership with Picuris. And that's been part of our goals for the superintendent is their relationship with the Pueblo, how they're working. We've also passed resolutions in the last few years, noting that honoring, the feast day, so that school doesn't start, so there's not school on the feast day. And again, when we did our last interview, I reached out directly to the governor and said, we would love to have Pequotese representation. Can you please, nominate somebody to serve on the interview committee for the superintendent? So I feel like there's small things like that we can do when we look around the room to notice who's not there. If we notice that Pequotese doesn't have a representative, if there's not a voice for Pequotese to stop and invite them in, I think that just needs to be a practice of and not just Pequotese. I think it's important to make sure that we look around and see who's missing in general. But I think if that's top of mind, then we'll do a better job of making sure that there's representation from the Pueblo. And I think the state has really set out some guidelines for schools on how they're supposed to better work with the tribal students that they serve. And I think our district is doing pretty well with that, but we can push it beyond what the state is asking, right? Because it's not enough just to check mark something to say that we did it or we have that committee. It's really about making sure that parents of students feel like they have a forum to express their needs, and that any particular learning needs that need to happen for Pueblo students is happening in accommodations. And because it's really about making sure that all kids are getting their needs met, right? It's not just about meeting a quota or like I said, making, being able to report back to the state that somebody showed up to a meeting. It's a genuine curiosity about what else can we be doing? How else can we be serving? And, I think that the board can really push that as something that's important to it, and press that with whoever's in leadership to make that a priority as well.
Mary, unmute, please. You're on mute.
I have noticed that since I've been a school board member, our superintendents have been great working with Pequotese. We had Superintendent Ulivari and we had Superintendent Marvin McCauley, and I felt that they were doing excellent. I feel that Melissa, our superintendent now, Melissa, has done a good job. I saw her and I was there for orientation, and I was very impressed with the way she handled all the people present, and she was fair to everybody. In fact, Governor Conchalo gave a long explanation of the Pequotese Pueblo and its heritage and culture. And I felt that was a learning experience, which was very good. There is always room for change and room for improvement, and we need to follow this. We need to be looking at this. But I feel that all our superintendents, including Hamilton, Miss Hamilton, I feel that she was also, there for them. So I feel that we have all been working together for a long time, and we should, because we are one large community and we can always improve, but we all have the same needs. Thank you.
Leroy speaking. Okay, now my feeling on this is this. We already, and I believe that Bobby Richardson is the liaison between the school and Pequotese. And he, as a liaison, should be able to attend every meeting and be able to express what the governor or the Pequotese Pueblo has to be able to get with the school board, to get or to be able to better the relationship between pickeries and the school district. So therefore, and also be able to invite the governor to come and attend this meeting. See, if he can't, maybe the lieutenant governor or a dignity to be able to come on in, to be able to, and bring whatever opinions, suggestions that they have that we can work with, both the community and the Pickeries Pueblo. Thank you.
Okay. So this is Gwen, and this is my response to this answer, or to this question. I feel that we need to keep the government to government relationship with the school and the Pueblo. We need to keep an open relationship so that things can get worked on. We do have a relationship with the school, but it's not as great as we would like it to be. Yes, we have been invited to meetings and to voice, but we're not enough ample time. You know, we have our own government to run here, and we can't just hop on something at the very last minute. We need enough time to coordinate, to I guess to gather our thoughts and how we want to represent Pickeries. We you know, we do have Bobby as our liaison there at the school, but he is also a teacher. He has his own responsibilities in that whole aspect. I feel that the school board doesn't recognize or respect our sovereignty. That's one big issue that needs.
Oh, come on.
It's the truth. You know, the generational cycle that exists needs to change. It's a new era, and we need to you know, focus on what's most important, and that's our students. There's a lot of cultural indifferences, although a lot of people have stigma that there's not. There are. Our kids need to be spoken for and need to be acknowledged. Our education, our language needs to be set as a priority and not just as an elective in the school. I think that relationships with the governor and tribal council and education committee needs to be strengthened. Open communication, transparency needs to be done. And that's what I have to say. So thank you.
Thank you. And let's give every candidate a chance to finish what they're saying without interruption, please. I think we will mix it up still and go in the opposite order with this question, and we'll start with Gwen and then move to Leroy and then Mary and Amanda. Okay, so the question that we had submitted is, I want to know how candidates can improve our children's education. Please be detailed. Often people say improve the school, but how? And Gwen, we'll start with you and go on the opposite.
Okay, can you put that question in the chat box so I can read it again, please?
Yeah, Rafa can do that. We'll give Rafa a second to do it.
Thank you.
And also while we're waiting, I can read it again too. This is the question. I want to know how candidates can improve our children's education. Please be detailed. Often people say improve the school, but how?
Okay, so I feel that the school needs to find avenues, maybe to write grants to provide academics for the school. As many of us know, Penasco doesn't rank very high in any of the state or national rankings. They're fairly low, and we need to get that up. The safety and the mental health of our children needs to be considered in this aspect, because a lot of them are left behind. as you know, with COVID, online learning is very difficult for our students. And I feel that that needs to be addressed because of the emergency response that we have to act on right now. You know, and we need to support teachers because teachers can't be two places at once. And this is very difficult for them to teach while having students in person as well as online. They need that support and the students need that support. Let's see. I think we need to look at the holistic representation of who makes up the district to help with academics. We can't just look at it as a tunnel vision. We need to look at it as a broader spectrum because everything is interconnected. And that goes back to the funding. If we can get funding, then we can bring in better programs, better training, not only for the students, but also for the administration to bring up those rankings. So thank you.
You know, I have a thing here that we are always saying we are here for the students. And I have to agree with that because those are our kids that we need to educate. But we also got to look at the teachers. If we do not support the teachers, give them the materials, give them all the what they need to be able to accomplish the mission, then we are behind. We are not really supporting the district. Yes, I understand that the budget, however, we can always look around. No, there's a lot of grants and there's a lot of things out there that can possibly we can get in. We need to get these teachers the resources and the materials in order to be able to accomplish their mission. Without those, these students are not going to get the education that they really need in order to be able to get a good job out there on the public. They need to get something read for them. So let's back up not only the students, but the teachers. Let's look at how we can get the resources to be able to help the teachers accomplish their mission. Thank you.
Okay, Mary, you're next.
Okay, I would say that as school boards, we are responsible for budget and policy, not for teaching. But through budget comes the responsibility of buying materials that we need for the teachers, giving them what they need. And that is possibly every teacher, I believe, has to submit a request for whatever they need. And so if they do, the district should be able to respond. But the ones who are in charge of the teachers are the superintendent and the principals. We as board members cannot go and meddle in that. Of course, if there's a teacher that is not teaching, you know, there should be a chain of command and come up to the principal, to the superintendent and report that. But we also know that those kids that really go out into the world and make a name for themselves are those where the parents are involved. So parents play a big role in this. Parents have to help the teachers, not only in learning, but in discipline. We have a lot of discipline problems in all the schools in New Mexico. In Rio Rancho, they were tearing down everything. This is sad. Thousands of dollars destroyed. Anyway, the thing is this, that we need to work together. Teachers teach, superintendents and principals are the guides, they oversee, and we help by giving them what they need, providing budget for salaries and buying materials. So that's where I look, how I look at it.
You know, you're right. We often say that we care about improving these metrics for students without being specific. And I think that's why this question is really important. I think a tenet of this, of improving students' outcomes, is providing stability in our leadership. We've had a lot of turnover in our superintendents. And just, I think in the last 7 or 8 years, we've had about 5 or 6 superintendents. And it's really an impossible job to create a vision for a school, to create consistent leadership, to create that team that is so pivotal to the success between the superintendent and the principals and the teachers to really address the needs of students. And so I know that superintendents left for different reasons, and some were not a good fit for the district. But I think, you know, really focusing on that stability in leadership is crucial. There's other things that, you know, we can do as well. We can commit, you know, to having high expectations for student achievement and quality instruction through professional development, through establishing clear goals around that with the community. You know, engaging stakeholders to really understand what does it mean to our community to have students achieving better. Because if it's just our ideas, we're not embracing or a big, like, I think it's too narrow. And I also think we need to have shared beliefs on what we think is possible, right? We often have conversations about all of the challenges in our school district. And I think we use them as excuses for why students aren't achieving. And I think we need to look at them as challenges. Did you say time, Rafa?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
Okay, and I'm looking at the time. I have 7:17, so I'm gonna ask one final question, and then we will end this. Let me pull up the question. Okay, this is a blend of one that was submitted in the chat and one that was in the draft of questions we emailed out. The Penasco Town Hall sent out a survey in preparation for this candidate forum. One of the questions asked survey respondents to rank their top 3 concerns about the district. In your opinion, what is the biggest issue in our district? And as the board member, what will you do to address it? And let's go ahead and do what we did with the last question. We'll have Gwen start out and go the other way around for this last one.
Do you want to mention, please? Rebecca mentioned the items that were listed there.
Oh yeah, so this was in the draft question that the survey the town hall sent out asked among the following, what do you rank as your top concern? Bullying, funding, safety, disinterest, mental health, or other?
Okay, so I feel that we should look at these, although these are all great priorities, I feel that they all tie in together and that they should be looked in a broader spectrum. Like I mentioned earlier, they all interconnect with one another. I think elected, I would work with the school board to look at these priorities and at others, for example, teacher retention, academics, family support, etc. I would question, is the district doing everything in their power to support and grow strong students, empower staff, and operate at the highest efficiency and effectiveness from the top down? I do want to say that I did choose 3 of the 3 from the list, with safety being the first one. Of course, during the pandemic, this has the school been proactive in the fight against COVID, and has the school provided services to the students that are on the utmost importance and done at the highest caliber? If elected, I would like to help ensure that the district is better prepared for emergency situations and has a plan for virtual learning if the need continues The second one I chose is mental health. Is the district doing everything possible to assist mental health during and after COVID? We need more counselors who can assist and be ready to transition them back without anxiety and support them with changes associated with reentry. And then my last one I put was funding. Is the school utilizing the funds effectively? Are we working with our stakeholders to build capacity and applying for grants that will support the district's needs and wants? If elected, I will advocate to work with other entities to help the district. For example, again, reaching out to Pickery's Pueblo as a sovereign nation, they have other funding avenues and streams on the state and federal levels. The relationship with the school board and tribe should be recognized, and on the government to government level on a consistent and regular basis. I feel that the Penasco School Board should put their time and energy to creating and supporting a stance on issues and utilize funding, staff, and other resources to ensure that the district has programs and policies in place that will address the concerns of the community as brought up in the survey. Thank you.
Me, as looking at those items, what I looked at, and everything's going to tie up into the budget, the funding. First of all, I'm looking at the things that were really concern me is security. The security that I have seen, you go to the school, and there's half of the time that I go there, there's nobody at the guard check. That individual is probably going all over the place. My recommendation to the board, and that's also the superintendent, look at the funds and see if we can get another security individual to be able to help it out. Half day, perhaps be at the check, and the other half someplace else to do whatever they have to do. The second individual come to the check and take care. We're looking at a lot of things that I can see that's happening throughout the nation, a lot of school shootings. And we need to do that. We need to secure our campus with that. I'm also looking at the central office. Central office, I understand that they only have about 4 secretaries up there. In the past, we have had more than that. However, looking at that with the secretaries that we have, we are going to really burn them out because they are got too many things going on and too many things going to one individual. So we got to look at that also. And also looking at everything else, a lot of these other schools are putting out some incentives to be able to hire people. Looking at the budget, I would say that we recommend looking at the budget, you see if we can give out some incentives to be able to hire. And I'm thinking, let's say, and just go through some numbers out there, $2,000 as an incentive to be able to get people in along with the regular pays, but give them a time limit also. If they come in, they have to be there for a certain amount of time in order to get their incentive. Maybe that way we can get some people to be able to come in and work at our district.
Time.
So here again. Okay, well, thank you.
So my next. Okay, I feel that mental health is very important, especially now after COVID. The New Mexico School Board Association had a meeting in the summer. And so in the fall, we had a workshop, or our training was dedicated to mental health and ways that possibly our school districts could bring some training to the staff and how to better address this issue. So we are looking at this. We are working with this. Also, bullying has never gone away. I hear that from parents, and I feel that it's not only the school's problem, but it is the parents' problem. Parents should help the schools so that we don't have to be policing kids. We have to be responsible parents. I have been a parent, I have been a grandparent, and I know the need for respect and discipline. Funding. I think funding at this time, it's good to ask for it and we have it. But we who are involved need to know that we already have funding but we have to use it wisely, and I feel we have done it. Disinterest, I don't know how we can interest our kids to stay in school here, because parents take them to Taos or Pojoaque because they're on their way to work. So how can we beat that? Or they go because there's a program being offered where what we don't have over here in Penasco. Now, security is a must. We must, as Mr. Lopez said, we must have better security. So possibly we could add another person, and possibly that is already happening. I think we talked about that, but I'm not sure exactly. Is that it? But I was going to say, just the state is already offering $4,000 a year for education assistance to go to school. That is a big help for anybody who wants to do it. Thank you.
I might have young little people busting in at any moment. They came in and out. You know, I agree with Gwen that a lot of these issues are interconnected, and it was a little challenging for me to try to focus on one, but really where I landed was safety. You know, all of these are important, but we're still in the midst of a global pandemic. And we need to take safety seriously to provide a healthy environment for our district staff to work in, for students to learn in, and we need to do our best to protect the families of our staff and students when they go home. We have a lot of multi-generational households, a lot of grandparents caring for their grandkids, and we need to have the whole community in mind when we're having in-person learning happening, which we know is better for most of our students. I also think providing a safe environment leads to stability and consistency. It provides a lot of the necessary building blocks that we need for a positive learning environment. If kids don't feel safe in their environment, they're not going to learn. If our staff don't feel safe, they're not going to be able to perform. And we really need to take people's concerns seriously and do whatever we can to address them. And I know that they look different for every person, and it's hard to land on a few, but I think safety is a really big priority. You know, we've also had families decide to stay home to homeschool or not have their child be in person learning, I think because of the pandemic. And we know, again, like thinking about student outcomes, students are doing better when they're in the class. It's less stress on teachers to have to be pulled in two different directions. And if we're providing a safer environment, maybe some of those families would be more comfortable with their kiddos and attending in person. I know that that's, you know, can't be the case for everybody, but I do think that's a priority. Thank you.
All right. Well, to wrap up, first, I want to thank the candidates for being here. Thank you to all the people who have attended this. We appreciate everyone's interest in the school board candidates. And I think the Penasco Town Hall would love to do more things like this, to have opportunities like this and give the community a chance to give feedback and talk about things that they're concerned about. If anyone has any questions that they would like the candidates to answer, you're welcome to email penascotownhall@gmail.com. That's the address that sent out the link for this meeting, and invite you to do that. And let's see, of the other announcements, the election is on November 2nd, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. There's early voting at the community center from October 16th through the 30th. And if anyone has any suggestions for other town halls they'd like to do, whether it's relating to the school or maybe the county commissioners or our state representatives, anything like that, we would definitely support doing that with the town hall. Thank you so much and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Good night.
having us
Thank you.
on and taking the time to hear us. Thank you.
Rebecca, excuse me, since this was put on by the union, there was questions there about union and we weren't asked anything about it. If we would
The-
support,
Darren asked that question. Is that the one you're referring to?
Union.
The guy- Darren had a question that he read to the candidates, PISD staff, or your constituents. How do you feel about staff calling you to discuss their concerns? Is that the
oh,
question?
that's the staff, but I'm talking of how do we feel of the union being involved with the school? That didn't come
Oh.
out.
Yeah, those were,
Okay.
yeah, sorry for the confusion, Mary. Those were separate. So we wanted to keep the union questionnaire separate from the town hall. So that way they didn't.
Sorry, okay,
No, you're
sorry.
okay.
I answered that, and so I was wondering when it was gonna come. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rebecca, for being a moderator.
Sure, you're welcome.